All right. Thanks for tuning in to the Playbook ATS Podcast. I'm your host, Greg DePalma. We'll be joined by Jim Feist and Andy Iskoe really soon. But we are going to start off the show with our special guest from the New York Post, NFL writer Ryan Dunleavy. Ryan, good to see you again. It's been a while.
What's up? How you doing?
Doing good. So just by the way,
look at those M and R in the background. Look at that.
Yeah, I finally had the opportunity to put it on the wall. I switched my studio 180 degrees and found wall space. So yeah, I didn't go to either program, but I'm a fan. That's right. I forgot you're a Rutgers grad.
I am a Rutgers grad.
That's right. Yeah. So Andy Iskoe, Jim Feist also joining us here on the show as usual. How's it going, guys?
And who
good? Hi, Ryan. How are you?
Hey, Brian. I didn't realize you look a lot like you don't look anything like Mark.
I do not look like Mark. I have a lot of respect for Mark, but I don't.
And my condolences for Rutgers this year. At least there's basketball.
No, there's not. Unfortunately,
basketball's worse.
Yes,
I hear Andy, but he's not moving.
No, at least we got his audio.
Oh,
that's true.
Okay. Let me check.
That's all right.
That's weird.
Oh, there he goes. Anyway, Mark Lawrence is going to be with us tomorrow on the show, our Friday program. So you can tune in then, and Jim and I will have a nice discussion on some of the topics we don't discuss today. But we have Ryan for the first half hour here on our NFL segment, and let's get right into the Giants talk, Ryan. So it's their bye week. They've had a very, very adventurous season, to say the least. But on the positive end, looks like they might have found their quarterback of the future in Jackson Dart. And I think,
by the way, the line moved. The line moved. Buy is now -4.5.
The what?
The buy is -4.5.
That's good line.
That must be a bank joke. The kind that only the teller gets.
Yeah. So I guess the fan base is going to be pretty excited next season, depending on, of course, who the head coach is going to be. But to know that you can start the season with three very young and talented players, Dart, Scadaboo, and Neighbors, at least gives them some hope.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it depends on who the coach is, who they get, who the GM is. The fan base very much wants a GM change. That doesn't look like it's going to happen as of right now. But yes, I think quarterback and coach are 90% of the battle. They have one of the two. The quarterback being here makes the job. It probably will be the most attractive job that opens in this cycle. So they should have their choice of candidates who are on the move. I don't know if they'll have their choice of any candidate, but they'll have their choice of candidates on the move. Dart does look legit. He needs to start sliding more to take care of himself and realize this is a 12-year job and not a 2-year job. But he has the moxie, he has the presence, he has the playmaking ability. He's been the real deal. He's much better than I think much better than I thought, and much better than I think most draft people thought.
That's a question I have for you, Brian, and that is: has there been any talk?
It's Ryan, Andy.
What, Ryan?
Yes.
Ryan. Okay, Ryan. I'm sorry. Has there been any talk, Ryan, either from the organization or from the fan base or from the fan, let's say, commentators there, that maybe they shouldn't have brought Jackson Dart back and risked further injury? And we almost saw that when he got knocked on the head early in the game last weekend. He's a quarterback for the next 12 to 15 years. Why risk it when you have the honor and distinction of being the first team to have been mathematically eliminated from the playoffs?
There's been a lot of speculation on that, especially with the bye this week. There was the thought, like, just hold him out one more week and, why
not shut him down? What's to be gained? He's played 8 or 9 or 10 games.
Well, I think there's a couple things. One, to be gained is the more experience as a rookie, the better. 2 is the competitive nature. You want to set in his mind that, you win every game. 3 is you're evaluating this head coach and this general manager. They're the ones making the decision. They're certainly not going to set themselves up for losses by playing a worse quarterback. 4 is you're trying to you're trying to keep your fans interested. The Giants fan base is so beleaguered. They have the worst record since 2017. He's the
By the
only
way,
reason.
that's the
only reason
reaction
to
I
watch.
wanted to know. What's the reaction of the fans, man? Positive, negative, or so what?
To what? To Dart or to Dart?
To having him play the rest of the season and risk the first of all, concussions. Those are not exactly the best kind of way to miss action. And then of course you have the possibility of leg and other injuries as well. And again, he's had a decent amount of experience and has pleased everybody. And I'm just wondering, if I were a fan back there, I would be totally upset because I'm more concerned about the future. Now, the future is not now. The future is getting healthy for next year when a guy like Mike McCarthy might come in. And look, the Giants' job is going to be a very, very attractive job with those 3 players as the foundation of an offense. Now, if they can just shore up the offensive line a little bit and add to some of the defense, I mean, that defensive front is nice. That's a very attractive job for whoever comes in. Why risk your franchise quarterback in games that don't mean anything? It'd be one thing if he only played 2 or 3 games, and then I'd still feel uncomfortable putting him in there because of the risk of injury, especially when it was a concussion. Or multiple concussions that it's had.
No, there's not a lot of that. No, Giants fans want to see him. Giants fans want to see him play. They want the most experience possible. He's the reason they watch the games. It's not like there's one game left. Like shutting him down for 5 games is a big ask. I mean, they want to be competitive. That's
until he gets injured.
Yeah, but
then you will hear a totally different tune.
Yeah,
that's always the case. But what you got here, and we have to remember that these are competitive athletes.
Yeah,
and they've been playing sports since they're 2 years old, 5 years old, 6 years old, and they just want to play. And they don't think about getting hurt. They feel kind of invincible, and that's an attitude that maybe you or I don't share because we've not been at that level. But that's the way they feel. There's an invincible.
That's why it's the responsibility of management to make that decision.
Well, I guess management has to keep their jobs. So
I guess they've made the decision by playing them.
Yeah, they're trying to keep their jobs.
And when they get in, I hope it doesn't happen, but if he gets injured, then they're going to take the heat, and they may lose their jobs because people are saying, why didn't you shut him down? We knew this was a risk, and you decided to take the risk. Who do you think you are? Dave Campbell? With all the risks he takes.
Are there any hot candidates?
I guess Andy's pretty passionate about this.
Are there any head coaching candidates that are really being, front and center rumored to take the job?
Yeah, McCarthy will be on the list high. He interviewed here before he took the Cowboys job. Lou Anarumo, I think they need experience. Lou Anarumo, the Colts defensive coordinator, is highly regarded in the Giants building.
Wow.
He's a Staten Island native. He's a former Giants assistant coach. His son is a Giants pro scout. He worked with Joe Schoen in Miami. So if Joe Schoen's still here, I think we all know that GMs tend to hire people they've worked with before. He'll be high on the list. Chris Shula, the Mara family and the Shula family are like first families of football. So he'll be high on the list. Steve Spagnuolo will get an interview. He's royalty in the Giants organization. Marcus Freeman would be at the top of the list. I don't know if anybody's going to be able to pull him from Notre Dame. And then if Mike Tomlin and the Steelers separate, Mike Tomlin will jump to the top of the Giants list, as he'll probably jump to the top of everybody's list. But don't forget, there's Maras and Rooney's married to each other. So that would certainly smooth the transition from one organization to the other.
Any talk at all of a candidate who used to be an NFL head coach, struggling in college right now, but does have some connection? Bill O'Brien.
No, I have not heard that name at all. No.
Ryan, the one of the things in the NFL that's been kind of prominent lately is hiring offensive coaches, because they seem to have a knack for correcting things on the offensive side of the ball easier than a defensive coach. You talk about Tomlin. He has not had a good offense for like 100 years. I know that's an exaggeration to make a point, but even when you look at, the Buffalo head coach, defensive coach, he's not maximized Josh Allen. The defensive coaches have had trouble maximizing offenses unless they have a really good offensive coordinator like Johnson.
Correct. Yeah, it's kind of painting a broad brush, right? Because like Dan Quinn didn't have any trouble maximizing Jaden Daniels because he has Cliff Kingsbury. So like the number one question a defensive coordinator is going to get hired is who's your offensive coordinator. And that's where I think Chris Shula has an advantage because he's from the Sean McVay tree. So there's like, I don't know, 100 guys in the NFL who worked under Sean McVay and Kyle
Right.
Shanahan. So
Right.
he's gonna have somebody in his bank that he can bring in as an offensive coordinator. The other guy I forgot to mention, guys, is Jeff Hafley, who's also part of that Shanahan McVay tree, who I think would have offensive coordinator top candidates in mind from that tree. He's the Packers defensive coordinator. He's a Jersey guy. He's a Boston College guy, so he comes with the Kraft family seal of approval. So I think he's a guy who will get consideration for the Giants and probably for other jobs too.
You mentioned Shane. Is his job safe?
No, it's not safe. I would guess he stays. It's not significantly safe. The Giants fans want him out. Giants ownership tends to be swayed by their fans. They want to keep him. They do not like doing wholesale changes. They gave Dave Gettleman 4 years, and he was, as bad as Joe Shane. So I don't think they want to make that move. They might end up with no choice but to make that move, especially if some of their top candidates pull a Liam Cohen on Trent Baalke and start withdrawing because they want to be on the same timeline as their GM.
Is part of the reason why he's still being looked at as a holdover because of the fact that he was the guy instrumental in bringing in these top young players on offense and a few on defense as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's what the Giants tell you. The Giants tell you like they've assembled a good young core, and that's why he's still here. I would obviously refute that very strongly. Like he's
2 words, Saquon Barkley.
He's also responsible for drafting Evan Neal. He's also responsible for drafting Deonte Banks, Jalen Hyatt. Those are 3 wasted top 3-round picks, 2 first-rounders. You said, he mismanaged the Saquon Barkley thing from the get-go. He paid Daniel Jones top dollar when Daniel Jones did not need to be paid top dollar. He did draft Abdul Carter, who I think anybody would have drafted Abdul Carter, and he's had a underwhelming rookie season. He did draft Jackson Dart, and that's probably the biggest feather in his cap, even though Brian Dable was the one who really, really pushed for him, and he's no longer here. Shane had to be the one to make that trade and patiently see the board. That's not easy to do. He's the one who figured out where and when was the right time to strike to make that trade late in the first round. That's, like I said, probably his biggest boon, getting that quarterback. So, the Giants would tell you like, oh, we have John Michael Schmitz and Theo Johnson and Tyrone Tracy and Cam Scatterbo. And I'm not sure that's like a great nucleus that they think it is. But yes, that is part of the reason that he's still here.
What about the upcoming offseason for the Giants, cap-wise, free agency? Is it too early to tell, or is there specific positions, and is there enough cash to go out there and make an impact move?
Yeah, I mean, I can't really tell you. I've dove into their cap for the offseason. They spent $215 million in free agency last year on a class that's wildly overwhelming. It includes Russell Wilson, who's not playing, James Hudson, who's not playing, Chauncey Golston, who doesn't play. They spent a lot of money on guys who are sitting on the bench. Paulson Adebo and Javon Holland have been okay. Not top free agent the difference makers. I don't know what they have money wise. They have a ton of needs. Their right tackle Jermaine Illuminor, who's been pretty good, is a free agent. He's going to want the most money he can get wherever. Cordell Flotz had a breakout year as a corner. He's going to get paid. I would not have thought that before the season. And who's their third? And Wan'Dale Robinson, who's had a really good year. He's going to hit 1,000 yards in a receiver market this offseason that's not going to be deep at receiver. He's going to probably get paid too, because he's shown he's much more than a slot, much more than he looks at 5'8" and 150 pounds or whatever. He's a pretty good player. So I think he'll get paid too. So you're creating holes if you don't fill those 3 spots. Plus they need more at receiver. They need probably more at tight end. They need inside linebacker, defensive tackle. They haven't been able to stop the run for 4 years. I would probably start there in free agency.
By the way, Greg, I just want to thank you for posting the names up there. Now I recognize Ryan because I've read the post every day for like 40 years.
How solid is their offensive line, Ryan?
It's the best it's been in a decade. And what I'd say it's average to slightly above average. And like, that's not a high bar. I think PFF, for what you think about PFF, has them like the 10th offensive line in the NFL. I'd say they're probably somewhere around 15, 16, just watching the games every week. But for the Giants, that's a miracle. I mean, they're usually 30th or worse. They allowed like 90 sacks 2 years ago. I think it was 84. So it's actually been pretty good. It's much better than you'd expect for a 2-11 team. It's been pretty good. It's not a problem. And that's why I think they probably should keep it together. It's one of those offensive lines that, look, Andrew Thomas is as good as they get at left tackle. I mean, he's an all-pro, whether people vote for him or not. He should be. He's the only standout name. The other 4 guys, like, it's one of those lines where I think they make each other better. Like, the sum is greater than the individual parts. I would try to keep that line together. But again, Illuminor is going to want top dollar. Schmitz has 1 year left on his rookie contract. Van Roten's a journeyman veteran free agent. Runyon has 1 year left. He could be a salary cap casualty. I wouldn't start, if I was them, after how long they recycled guys and flop free agents and flop draft picks, I'd be hesitant to move off this. Maybe I put Marcus Bowe, the rookie 5th round pick, in as a starter somewhere, but maybe that would be the only change I'd make.
How about Russell Wilson? How much is he costing the team, and are they married to him?
I mean, he's costing them $10 million a year, $10 million this year to be their 3rd string quarterback. He'll be off the team next year. But yeah, I mean, he was inactive against the healthy scratch against the Patriots for the first time in his NFL career. So he'll be off the team next year. He's actually doing media work this week. I think that's for CBS on the bye week. So I think that's probably a sign of what's to come in Russell Wilson's future.
It does look like he's been done for a couple of years. So
I was just going to ask if Wilson will be tradable. I doubt it, or if he's just going to be released.
Well, he's a free agent, so it won't matter.
Okay.
I doubt if anybody would want him, Andy.
No, I don't think so either.
So
this is his last stop.
Some teams like the Saints and the Jets and the Browns, they have high picks and they need quarterbacks. Other teams like Tennessee and the Giants do not. So as far as the Giant fan base is concerned, is there a specific position? Like when you're looking at all these big college games coming up, and are they going to be zeroing in on a specific position that you think really matters the most when it comes to what the Giants are going to need if they pick in the top 5?
Oh, so it won't. So there's only certain. They're very big positional value franchise, which is how you end up letting Xavier McKinney and Saquon Barkley walk. So they don't need edge rushers. I guess they could need an offensive tackle if Illuminor walks. Right now, as the lineup is currently constructed, the positions I would have my eye on for sure are wide receiver. So you're looking at Carnell Tate from Ohio State or Tyson from Arizona State, though they might be done playing, right? Or he might be done playing. And then
you also have Lemon from USC. even though he's a slot guy, but you already have Wan'Dale. So
yeah, no, I would say Tyson and Tate, and then I would say those are probably the two positions that jump off the board. I mean, Arvell Reese, if he is available, I just know you're going to have that whole like, oh, is an inside linebacker worth the positional value, blah blah blah. But if you're telling me they're like trading down from 2 to 7 with some team that needs a quarterback and Reese is there at 7, then he certainly would be a difference maker.
How are they at tight end? I know there are 3 on the roster. Has anyone been more outstanding than the other?
I mean, Theo Johnson's starter, the Penn State kid. He's got 5 or 6 touchdowns this year. He's kind of boomer bust. He's made some big plays. He has too many drops, concentration drops. Not even in traffic. He's a red zone weapon. He's one of Dart's favorite targets, though, and that matters. Like, Dart looks for him. So they have a good thing going. Bellinger, I think, is a very solid all-around tight end. He's a free agent. I expect him to leave. And Manhertz is he's like a 6th offensive lineman. He's like one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. I assume he'll be back next year on a 1-year
because that is so important in the modern NFL, tight end, especially a blocking tight end who can catch.
Yeah, I don't think that. I think Johnson's a receiver who can catch sometimes, and Manhertz is a blocker who doesn't really catch. So they could probably use a more all-around tight end, but I don't think that's high on their priority list when they have so many other needs.
Could be interesting if the Jets were actually interested in one of those quarterbacks, and you talked about a 2 trading for a 7. That could actually be what works out. Giants could be 2, Jets could be 7.
Very, very possible. They made a trade Shane's first year in the 2nd round, and that's how Breece Hall ended up on the Jets, and Wan'Dale ended up on the Giants.
It worked out for
both
teams.
Both teams are pleased with that.
Before I let you go, Ryan, NFC East, Eagles still hanging in. Dallas making a charge. What do you think about those 2 teams the rest of the way?
It's funny, right? Like the NFC East, the like storyline is no one's won the division back-to-back years since 2004. And so everybody was ready to cancel that and say the Eagles are going to go back-to-back this year. Yeah. And now it's almost like the curse is like, here come the Cowboys to take it away from the Eagles, right? I don't think that's
the tie's going to hurt them in this situation.
Yeah. I don't think that's going to happen. I think in the end of the day, the Eagles will win the division. I think everybody thinks it's one of 2 things. Like either the Eagles have to totally collapse and lose like 6 of 7 and fire everybody, like was the call in 2023 when they melted down at the end of the season, or they have to like be this dominant team that wins the Super Bowl like they were last year. And like I don't see it that way. Like I think they're a good team who's not great. So like they probably, what are they, 8-4? Like they probably go 3-2 the rest of the way, and they finish 11-6, and they win a playoff game or 2. But like they're not a dominant team. But I don't think they're going to collapse either. I mean, I think they're probably a notch better than some of the other contenders. Like, look at the Lions. Like the Lions could be out of it by the end of tonight. So, I think the Eagles probably win the division. I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, the Cowboys have come on strong. I would not have said they were a wild card contender earlier. Now, if you ask me to pick my top 7 in the NFC, I might put them in at 7. They've got some ground to make up. They have to win tonight, obviously. They're in must wins the rest of the way, but their defense looks much better than it did earlier in the season. Pickens is unbelievable. Pickens, Lamb, Prescott, they score a ton of points. I wouldn't rule out the Cowboys, but I think that Eagles will do enough to win 11 games and take the NFC.
Let me ask you this question. If you were an opposing, let's say you were a coach that was available. Well, which roster would you prefer the way it's constructed right now? Dallas or Philadelphia?
Good question. I immediately go to the lines. I immediately go to the lines. Dallas might have could Dallas have the better, Dallas could have the better offensive line right now. I still think the Eagles defensive line. I'm going to go with the Eagles. It's closer than I think, but I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think the defensive line is good. DeJean and Mitchell, young corners. Devonta, I don't think they'll have AJ Brown going forward, but they have Devonta Smith, who's a good player. Lane Johnson's obviously near the end, but they have Dickerson, who's a Pro Bowler, and Juergens, and Mailata still relatively young. I think I would go with the Eagles, but it's closer than I think. It's certainly closer than I would have thought at the start of the season.
Yeah, it's amazing how quickly that defense turned around as soon as they made the trade. And that doesn't happen very often in the NFL. Mid-season, quickly make a deal. Quinnen Williams took to that team like he'd been playing with them for 5 years. So it's a great story.
We don't usually throw very many flowers at Jerry Jones, but he did a good job there.
I think it's important to mention Aaron Whitecotton, who's the Cowboys defensive line coach, was the Jets defensive line coach for years under Robert Saleh. Obviously very instrumental in knowing what Quinnen would be for that defense, and knowing that Quinnen wanted to play there, and knowing that he would be a fit, and Quentin wanting to play with Whitecotton, knowing the right buttons to push to get more out of Quinnen than the Jets were getting out of Quinnen.
Yes.
Interesting.
Well, if you look at the performance of the Dallas defense, and these are just simple numbers, games 1 through 6 through games 7 through 12, Dallas has improved defensively by 71 yards per game. That's a phenomenal improvement, and it goes right to the trade deadline.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was that stark, but yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's significant. I mean, also it was really not sustained. I mean, also they put up enough. They have the ball enough on offense that it shouldn't be that bad. It shouldn't be that bad on defense. So,
Greg, what's the odds for Dallas to win the division?
Oh, wow! I'll have to take a look at that.
Anything's possible. If
I actually played them about a week ago at I think it was 7.5 to 1, 15 to 2.
I thought it would have been higher than that.
It's lower. Well, it's lower. I think I played it before the Thanksgiving game.
Okay,
let's see what we got here. It's still 6.5 to 1
to win the division.
Yep.
Really?
Yeah. The Eagles are not minus 900.
Right.
Ain't taking the Eagles, that's for sure.
But take the Commanders. That's good.
Yeah. Right.
Oh yeah, we'd like to get that paycheck.
Yeah.
And Washington plays Philadelphia twice in the last 5 weeks. They play the Giants once and Dallas once, and Minnesota. Dallas may have a little bit of a better chance than we think. If Daniels comes back for Washington.
Philly's got some easy opponents though. They still have to play Las Vegas and Washington twice. Yeah. So it's going to be kind of easy for the Eagles, like Ryan said, to probably get 11 wins, which is probably going to be out of reach for the Cowboys. But
you want them to bring back Jaden Daniels, but you didn't want them to bring back Jackson Dart, or you don't want them to bring back
I think it's different injury concerns, but I could also understand if Washington did not bring back Jaden Daniels. But then again, Washington's the team that decided, you know what, we'll play defense on the first series in overtime.
All right, Ryan, thanks for doing this. Next time we talk, more than likely it'll be in the offseason to preview free agency and then later on with the draft. So I appreciate your time as always. We'll have a link in the description of this video so anybody that is watching can check out exactly where to find you at the New York Post online. So once again, I appreciate your time.
Thanks,
you,
guys.
Ryan. Nice meeting you.
Thanks, Ryan. Yes, a pleasure, Ryan.
Nice meeting you, Ryan.
All right, so there you go. Speaking of the Dallas Cowboys,
by the way, that is one of the nation's best sports sections, the New York Post.
Yeah, there's a lot there, absolutely, for a national paper, for a local paper, but yeah, nationally comparable. There's not a lot of good ones out there anymore, that's for sure. All right, so one of our viewers wanted to know about the game tonight. Ronnie, Lions -3. What do you think? I know you talked about it yesterday on the show, Jim. I want to elaborate for anybody who did not get to see your show yesterday.
Well, it's actually 3.5. And 3.5, but the juice favors Dallas a little bit. And the number, the total has gone up to 55. Now here's what I look at. There's a lot of injuries on the Detroit side, a lot, and they're probably going to try to win this game or control this game on the ground with their running game because their offensive protection for Goff has not been good. So I don't understand how they're going to get to this 50, 55, 55 and a half number. I'm a big proponent of betting Dallas over, but I just don't know you're going to get enough points unless you get all the points from Dallas, which would mean that you should be betting Dallas at plus. It's all 3.5s now, everywhere. I did.
Do you find that surprising that it came off 3?
Well, a little bit, because there's a lot of injuries on Detroit. They're not healthy, they have not looked good. I mean, I had them against Green Bay, and I was embarrassed. I mean, the game was never. They were never in that game. It might have gotten closer. It got closer than it was in the final score, but they were manhandled. And
it's still hurting them.
You got the hot team in Dallas, and you got the colder team in Detroit laying points to a team that might actually be better than them.
Yeah, that's why the line moves seems surprising.
Yes.
Because we all see that. We all saw both of these teams play exactly a week ago on Thanksgiving. Dallas looked like I won't say world beaters, but they certainly outclassed Kansas City. And then Detroit was almost never in that game against Green Bay, and it was a more important game for Detroit for 2 reasons. Number one, they were behind Green Bay, and number two, the loss ended up making it a season sweep for the Packers over the Lions. So that was a huge game for Detroit, and they've put themselves in a hole right now where, a loss tonight, who gets eliminated first from the playoffs this year, Detroit or Kansas City? Well, maybe it's Detroit because they play sooner.
And now Terrion Arnold is on injured reserve.
Caesars, Andy, has 55.5 under minus 13.
Wow.
I think you have to bet this thing under, because the Lions have not been able to protect Goff. He won't have, and the defense for Dallas, I think maybe everybody's forgetting that the Dallas defense is much better than they were. There's going to be pressure on Goff. He doesn't do well under pressure. He doesn't give you anything with his legs. I just don't get it. And I know Detroit's going to try to win this game on the ground, because that's
the defenses that Detroit has played the last month or so, the Packers, the Giants, who have a good defensive line, and they managed to still put up 34 points. That was the overtime game where they came from behind. The Eagles defense the week before. Before that, it was the Washington defense, and that's the game they won. What was it? 44 to 22. They played the Vikings defense, the game they lost at home. They played the Bucs defense before that. They played the Chiefs defense before that. The softest defense other than Washington that they played was the Bengals defense back on October 5th. So the Detroit offense has been challenged, and it's probably going to be just as much a challenge, but at least we can understand why they've had some difficulty the last few weeks, because they've been playing basically nothing but good defenses since early October, with the exception of Washington.
It's just the injuries that bother me. I mean, I was a big proponent of Detroit. I thought they were going to win this division, but those injuries have just crippled them.
Yeah.
And, take a look at Chicago, number 1 seed in the NFC. And that's with Johnson. And if that's a big plus for Chicago, it had to be a big minus for Detroit. I mean, obviously they lost a lot, defensive and offensive coordinators, and they lost their all-star center who tried to come back and didn't pass the physical.
Their tight end is out now, Laporta.
Well, not only will Laporta not be in, but it looks like St. Brown is more than likely not going to play again. Yeah. So you have 2 of your top weapons. Which is
another reason why that 3 to 3.5 is very suspicious. I won't say suspicious, surprising, especially with no Laporta, who's been out a couple of weeks now and is gone for the season. That's why that 3 to 3.5.
I want to know where all these points are coming from if you lose your offensive power downfield breakaway players. Yeah. And my wife does not like the Cleveland Browns at all. and probably would never agree with a 4-point favorite there.
And the other thing, because you mentioned Ragnow, and it's really, if you take a look at what's hurt Detroit more than anything, started with Minnesota, where they just absolutely annihilated Detroit up the middle of their offensive line. And we saw Green Bay do the same thing. And now the Cowboys have Quinn and Williams. That's going to be a big mismatch.
Even the Giants had success against the Lions defense.
So, and of course, Kirby Joseph's been a big loss for them. He hasn't been in that defensive backfield for quite a long time. It's just too much. It's too much to ask when you take away the coordinators and then all these injuries. It's just too much to ask. And I know we usually have really positive trends for the Lions, but here's the first time I've looked at a negative one. Maybe there's bad timing. But the Lions are 2-10 against the spread at home when they're coming off a straight-up favored loss, and they take on an opponent off a straight-up ATS win. So we're usually saying all these great Dan Campbell trends and Lion trends. Well, we actually have a negative one now.
Well, that one actually goes against that positive trend with Ben Johnson off a loss.
And meanwhile,
the comment from John and Toma and everything, I'm favoring the under in all cases, first half, full game. And I might actually be looking at Dallas team total over. That might be another way to look at this game.
What's that got to be, like 28.5? Maybe it's gone up a little bit.
Well, they're the dogs, so it wouldn't be 28.5 because that'd be 56. No, it would have to be less than that.
Yeah, that's right. It'd probably be maybe 25.5.
25.5, yeah. Something like that.
So if you're thinking, all right, so what you're saying is, all right, if you're thinking the Cowboys will be like a 28 type of a game, is that what you're going for?
Yeah. Yeah, 28-31, yeah, something like that.
Yeah, that is a high number.
I think Dallas wins the game, honestly. I really do.
Yeah.
And that shouldn't surprise anybody.
And Detroit is at the Rams next week. So
they got to worry about Dallas first.
That means that if they don't win this game,
Detroit season's over tonight if they lose and Green Bay wins. They're done.
Yeah.
All right. That's just that's the parity of the NFL. That's what we're dealing with. So that's a good thing. And it could be a good thing.
Yeah, they would be 7-6, which and the race for the wild card in the NFC is extremely contentious with all these teams that have won 7, 8, 9 games. I mean, San Francisco is the third wild card right now, and they're 9-4.
So one team who had an absolutely horrible defense all season turned things around after the Quinn and Williams trade. Another team hasn't had that much time yet. They've only had one game where they've been able to say, hey, our defense maybe we're a little bit better than everybody thinks. And that is the Cincinnati Bengals. All of a sudden, Joe Burrow steps on the field and their defense looks like the defense that was there when they went to the Super Bowl. It was like, where did that defense come from? Mm-hmm. And Joe Burrow just being on the field really ignited the Bengals in their win over the Ravens last week. They're now a 2-1 money line play, almost 6 at Buffalo. Considering, guys, how inconsistent Buffalo has been this season, that you can get Joe Burrow at 2-1 on the money line. What do you think about this game?
And by the way, given the Cincinnati success against Buffalo the last several times they've met.
Yeah, Burrow has 2-0. He has never lost to Josh Allen.
I have to give the Bengals a shot. I mean, because Buffalo has not been that impressive. I'm very disappointed in the management and the coaching for Buffalo, because Josh Allen arguably is the most talented quarterback. He can do it with his legs. He can do it with his arm, and they just don't have a scheme that is impressive to me. It's kind of like Philadelphia. Philadelphia looks like a high school offense, and the way they use Josh Allen, it's Josh Allen or nothing. This is not well built. I think they need a change at the top there. There's something wrong, because that guy is really good, and they should not be in this situation.
No, I mean their path to the playoffs is through the wild card. They're not going to catch New England, even though they play them next week, because they're 2.5 games behind them, with New England having a bye this week. So maybe they get to 2. They have to remember they have to win. They have to beat New England to get 1 game behind them, and then pick up another game somewhere. So it's going to be very difficult. Buffalo, right now they are 8-4. They're the number 3 wild card. So they do control their own destiny if they happen to win out, because the next team is, Houston could win a division, but they're only at 7 wins. So Buffalo, basically, they can go win out. Whether or not they can end up being 13-4, though, is questionable, because they do have a couple of tough challenges coming up.
Yeah.
But
Andy,
Cincinnati, yeah.
Andy, look at this: Buffalo, Kansas City,
Baltimore,
and what other team I'm looking at? AFC team would be the West Coast.
Well, even look at Philadelphia.
Kansas City. But I'm talking about AFC. These teams are all favored to get to the playoffs, maybe get to the Super Bowl, and they all may miss the playoffs.
Yeah.
I mean, this is wild.
Well, Houston's another one, because they've been in the playoffs 2 straight years as division champions, and they are actually 3rd in the division now, but they are playing the best football of any team in that division.
They actually might surprise somebody. They're.
I won't be surprised if they beat Kansas City Sunday.
If Indianapolis, their quarterback's got a broken fibula. I mean, he's not 100%, and Jacksonville could beat them, and Houston could beat Kansas City. Now you got talking about a whole different game.
Yeah, taking a look at that Indy-Jacksonville matchup, Jacksonville has beaten the Colts 10 straight games in Jacksonville. 10 straight.
Is it right? Really?
Yet the Colts are favored.
Yeah, and yes, and the Colts are favored by a point, whatever, 1.5. Also, Jacksonville, if you look at them, even just in the last 11 meetings with Indianapolis, they've won 7 out of 11 and covered 9 out of 11. And they're on a 3-game winning streak, straight up against the spread by an 87-33 margin, while the Colts have lost 3 out of 4. And the Jags have been a home dog only twice this year, and they won both of them against Kansas City and the Chargers. What do you guys think about that matchup?
There's here's a comment we should put in here. This was on the Dom DeMarco show, and John Putnam just mentioned it. I was impressed with your show yesterday at Dom DeMarco's, as usual, when one of the guys said Buffalo ran the same play 27 times against Pittsburgh. That is not good offensive coaching. Thank you, John.
Most of those 27 plays worked.
Yeah, they blew them out. So
no, look at what their rushing yardage was last week.
Yeah, they had a lot of So if you're gonna rush for about 200 yards, keep running it until they stop you. So anyway, so what do you guys think about? You guys have a firm opinion either way on this game?
In which game?
Colts.
By the way, it was 249 rushing yards against Pittsburgh last week.
Even worse.
Well, that just shows you Pittsburgh how bad they are.
But maybe that also says that maybe the coach is relatively smart, because he's saying, hey, why change what's been working so well?
I guess I take that back. Maybe you're right. Maybe I should look at it the other way. You're right.
That's
actually, I think they're the wrong favorite in this game. I like Jacksonville.
I kind of lead to Indianapolis, considering the competition that they've recently played. A couple of really good teams that were taking advantage of the fact that Indianapolis had been playing so well, and the game probably did mean more to the opponent. I just want to call up the schedule here. They had that loss to the Chiefs, and then they lost at home to the Texans. That's not a couple of bad teams to lose to. The Jaguars, it's a nice story. Are they as good as an 8-4 team? Maybe we'll find out a little bit, because I think these teams, and correct me if I'm wrong, Greg, don't these teams meet twice the rest of the season?
Yeah, there'll be one more game that these two teams will play.
In the same division,
yeah.
The Circa's got a 2 on this game. They're the only one that does, but the rest of them are all 1.5, and the juice is to the favorite. So it's either 2 or 1.5 juice to the favorite. So they are on Indianapolis, So I don't agree with it. Considering the guy's got a fibula issue, it takes away any ability to run. I think that's That's a tough spot.
I would think they use the short passing game and Jonathan Taylor to the extent that they can do something in this game. This is a critical game for the Colts. The reason being, if you look at the rest of the schedule, well, they have the 2 games against Jacksonville. Their other 3 games are at Seattle, at home against the 49ers, and at Houston in a game that could very well decide the division. If you look at Jacksonville's schedule, it's not quite as difficult. The 2 games with Indianapolis, they are at Denver, which is a tough game. They host the Jets, and they host Tennessee in Week 18. So Jacksonville has a far easier schedule, and that makes this, and obviously they are playing at home against Indianapolis. This is a game that I think Indianapolis has to win, or either Houston or Jacksonville win the division.
Yeah, Houston also has a couple of games that they have Arizona and Las Vegas on their schedule.
Yeah.
So
Greg,
both
take a look at what Trend Tacklers wrote. Interesting.
What?
Trend Tacklers. Colts line looks wrong, but be careful. Road favorites or dogs off less than 3 points. Dogs of less than 3 points coming off back-to-back losses are 9-1-1 ATS or 333%.
Is this Mark Lawrence?
That's pretty impressive stuff.
Is that Mark Lawrence?
But my question is, how many of those teams were playing with a significantly injured quarterback?
Well, look, this is what I will say about trends. And as much as I love Mark's magazine and love all of the trends and I eat them up, when I look at a trend like that, and let's just say, I don't know, let's just say the Colts are that's the Colts. They're 9-1-1 in that thing. You know what matters more to me? That the Jags have beaten them 10 straight times at home.
Yeah,
I don't care about that trend. When I got something that tells me that one team is beating another team 10 straight times at home, I don't care if it's 18-0, in this kind of trend here. I'm going with that 10 straight win at home deal.
And that's under different quarterbacks, under different coaches, a whole bunch of changing personnel.
Yeah.
And I wonder if maybe anything it has to do, I'm not quite sure, that Indianapolis is a turf team playing indoors, and now they go to Jacksonville. And by the way, at this time of the year in Jacksonville, they can get temperatures in the 40s.
And by the way, there's another one that really favors the Colts too. They've covered 11 straight off of a straight up division favored loss. So there are trends out there that say, hey, Colts looking real good, but we'll see. Again,
one of them's going to improve and one of them's going to get worse.
And the other thing that's just the bottom line, guys, it's just the fact that Colts are not playing well. They're playing their worst ball of the year. Jags are playing probably their best ball of the year. So I just think you don't
win playoff games and big games at the end of the season by what you did in September and October.
Yeah,
you got to be right and rolling and doing well in December, because then that was then, this is now, and some of these teams have been banged up, hurt. They're out of sync. A lot of things happen over a 4-month, 16, 17 game stretch. When
you bring that up, Jim, the thing that I immediately think about, and I know we don't talk college football with you much, but that I immediately think about is the big story right now going on in college football with the head-to-head situation with Notre Dame and Miami, because they played week 1 and Miami beat them by 3. And of course, Miami fans are screaming bloody murder that they're ranked behind Notre Dame and they beat them. But just like you said, Jim, that was week 1. And it was a 3-point win. And by the way, they were at home.
Yeah.
Notre Dame is clearly playing their best football of the year. And Miami, okay, well, they're just playing okay. They played okay all year. They've lost a couple of games.
If they played now on a neutral field, Notre Dame's probably a 4-point favorite.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that's the thing that just goes to your point, Jim, is that I don't think enough people put that into perspective, is when you're taking a look at these numbers and these stats, is how are you doing now? How good are you playing right now? And even with the quarterback situation, because Daniel Jones, you would expect that he'd be playing better now, but maybe there's more film on him with the Colts now. And I know he's got the injury situation, but still, as long as he's out there playing, I don't want to hear about injuries. So the fact of the matter is, maybe that's part of it, is they've got a little bit more film on the Colts now, a little bit more film on him, and that kind of helps.
Well, neither one of these
schedule's been a lot more difficult the last month. Also,
That too.
For who?
Absolutely.
for the Colts.
For Indianapolis? Oh, for the Colts.
Yes. And like you said,
neither one of these quarterbacks have a long track record of winning big games at the end of the year.
no, they don't. No.
So
These are two former top 10 draft pick quarterbacks, one first overall, and they haven't yet lived up to their billing. Houston, remember we liked them last week at 7-1. Now they're 3-1. So hopefully you took advantage of the 7-1 guys out there, viewers. But even at 3-1, what do you think? If you had to make a prediction right now and you had to put money right now on the AFC South, looking at those numbers, which team did you put your money on?
I go with Houston because of their defense, so much better than the other two teams.
I totally agree with Andy.
Let's talk.
At that
And their
price,
experience from the last 2 years with winning the division title.
at that price, you got a positive EV with the best defense. I'd have to go with Andy.
I wonder what I wasn't even paying attention to the line like a month ago. It must have been 12-1, 15-1, something like that.
I got them at 7-1 last week.
Speaking of Houston,
Yeah.
they're playing that game against the Chiefs on Sunday Night Football. And this has been a nemesis team for Houston and a lot of other teams. But Houston has had all sorts of problems trying to beat the Kansas City Chiefs.
Well, the entire 31 teams in the league. Have had trouble
Yeah,
against
exactly. Yeah.
But they're 0-4. So they have just not beaten the Chiefs during this stretch, including 2 playoff wins last year as well. But check this out. The Chiefs have lost 6 games this year, and they've lost by a total of 25 points.
Yeah, those were the games they won last year.
That's right. Yeah,
They're
won
1-3 straight up, 0-4 against the spread in their last 4.
At what
Houston's
point will
won 4
people
straight.
realize, and Kansas City might win this game, but I wonder if people are going to realize this is not the same Kansas City team. And I wonder if psychologically they were damaged or other teams picked up what Philadelphia was able to do in blowing them out. I mean, that looked like, it turned out to be a huge mismatch. And, maybe Kansas City just doesn't have the same swagger. I've mentioned before, they've played 21 playoff games since 2018. And in every year since 2019, they played at least 3 playoff games. So they've played the equivalent of basically a season and a quarter more than everybody else has played in that period of time. Of course, obviously, other teams also played, 4 to 6 playoff games. But I don't know that anyone's done it to the extent that Kansas City has. And that catches up to you. There's a cumulative effect, especially on defense.
Well, what surprises me the most about that, Andy, is the fact that with all of that, if someone were to tell me that the Chiefs were 6-6 this season, I would say, oh, they must be, all of that must have caught up to them. They must have like 10 guys on injured reserve, because that's really where you think most of the problems will come, will be eventually these
Injuries.
guys are going to break down.
Yeah.
And that hasn't been the case. They've been pretty healthy compared to most other teams in the
Mark
NFL.
always uses a stat that in the stats. What's the in the stats for Houston and Kansas City? You know what I'm talking about. In the games that
Yeah,
they
I know.
played. I don't have.
Well, let me put it to you this way: Philadelphia is 2-10 in the stats.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm going to see if I can find the.
I had Kansas City for, let's see.
I mean, if you didn't put names and you just put the games on there, look at the stats for these teams, you would not be making Kansas City a 3.5 point favorite in this game.
Well, Kansas City went on a run from week 2 to, I believe it was like right around week 8, where they were the yardage winner in all of those games. But then they got out yardage by the Bills when they lost. They got out yardage by Denver when they lost. I don't have the last 2 weeks, though.
I have Kansas City in the last 3 weeks. They were minus 99 yards in the loss at Buffalo, minus 31 in the loss to Denver. This was the surprising one against Indianapolis, where they barely won but did not cover. They outgained the Colts 239 yards, and then last week they went back against Dallas and were outgained by 95 yards. So yeah, they had a stretch of 7 straight games from week 2 through, I guess, would be week 8, where they outgained everybody, including Las Vegas. That was the ugliest game probably in the last 5 years. At 31-0, where the Raiders had, I think, something along the lines of 53 yards of some ridiculous number of total defense that they had in that game. Let me see what I have it for Houston. I think their numbers are a little bit better. And
you got to remember, too,
they have outgained most of their opponents. They're about 7-5, I think.
This game opened 5.5, 6. It's down to 3, 3.5. I mean, that tells you a lot too, because that's not just paper mache out there. That's real money that's moved that number.
And by the way, to give you an idea of how dominant Houston would be because of that defense, they outgained Tennessee, no big deal, but it was by 178 yards. They outgained Baltimore by 210. They outgained San Francisco by 252, and they outgained Jacksonville by 199. So you think of a team of defense, they apparently had enough offense or just a dominating defense to put up some very impressive numbers. This is a team to be taken seriously, and they've only lost a turnover battle 3 times this year.
I didn't realize that, Andy. That's amazing.
You put your avatar on, Andy.
Yeah, I got to switch back. I had to switch to my other computer.
One more before we wrap up our NFL segment, and that is the big game in the NFC North between the Packers and the Bears. Look, I haven't really put a lot of money on the Bears this year, but this is one week that I'm actually going to do it. I think there's a little bit disrespect going on here. Almost a 7-point spread for the team that is the number 1 ranked team in the conference. The team that has won 9 out of 10.
You're right, Greg. That's total disrespect. Totally disrespect. Yes.
Yeah. So look, they're almost 3-1 on the money line in this matchup. They'll be playing the Packers, by the way, in 2 weeks at home. So it's a quick rematch. In between, Chicago will be hosting Cleveland, while Green Bay will be going to Denver. So that is a big difference there between competition between they play again. But yeah, what do you think about this game, Andy?
I cannot stand in front of the Chicago train. I mean, they're getting a full touchdown plus a half, 6.5, and maybe it goes to 7. I wouldn't be surprised. Let me see if I can play around with this camera for a bit while I talk.
Keep that on.
But,
while you're doing that, you got to. There's no way you can't take Chicago plus 7. I mean, you have to. I mean, they got a good coach. The quarterback's growing. He's getting better. They got a lot of confidence. A full touchdown? Are you crazy? I mean, that's just way too much. Now, I want to answer 2 questions from our comments section. Definitely like the under in the Kansas City-Houston game. I definitely think that's going to be a dominant game by the defense. And Texans do have revenge from last year's loss in the playoffs to Kansas City. So you have those things going for you as well.
Yeah, I don't know if again they got 5 times revenge. I wouldn't care about that. But
I just think they're the better team this year.
But yeah, right now they're playing better than the Chiefs are. The Chiefs, it's one team that's, because remember, keep this in mind too. Houston, remember we just mentioned about all the close games that the Chiefs have lost. Well, Houston has won their last 3 games by a total of 11 points. So there's 2 teams playing close games every week. One team's winning, the other team's losing. So,
by the way, remember Houston started 0-3, losing to the Rams, the Buccaneers, and the Jaguars, all of whom have winning records. Tampa Bay's not playing as well lately, but they're still, above 500. And so they've gone, what are they now, 7-6? So they've gone 7-3 since starting 0-3.
Maybe the biggest negative here to Houston is they're an indoor team playing outdoors in cold weather, and that might be something that could affect them. And it
didn't hurt them a few weeks ago. I thought it was. I know they played indoors at Indianapolis, which obviously is a match of a same time team, but they've been playing. They've been playing very well. I don't know what the record is on this situation, playing on grass late in the season.
Well, when 2 teams are playing as close as those 2 teams are, why not just take the 3.5? And if the Chiefs beat them, maybe the Chiefs don't even cover. So I think you're in a good position taking 3.5 in that situation. So, all right, guys. So that's going to wrap it up. Yeah. By the way, I guess we're all in agreement. The Bears are probably the way to go.
I agree.
I get, it's an interesting game. If you base your handicapping strictly on numbers, you can probably make a case for the Packers. Okay. If you throw in the intangible factors, such as this Chicago team is just playing with great confidence. They've shown great improvement. Ben Johnson. Oh, plus the other thing is Ben Johnson knows the Packers from having to go against their defense twice a year for the last few years with the Lions. So I think that that's an edge that they have. I always felt the coach has the edge over the players rather than players having the edge over knowing the coach, because the coach can make the coach determines a lot of what plays you're going to use, and Johnson knows. He's probably studied the film of games between the Packers and the Bears in recent years as well. So I think that's another reason to favor Chicago.
Yeah, one of these weeks, and it might be soon, the Bears are gonna have an off night, an off week, and you just don't know when it's gonna be. But I will say this: if you've been taking the Bears, you're somebody out there that's been taking the Bears an awful lot lately, then just keep taking them until they lose.
I mean, the only negative thing here is that this is the first of two meetings, and this is the one that's in Green Bay. So it's a little bit more for Green Bay to win, because they number one would pick up a game on the Bears, and number two have an opportunity to pick up another game should they win in Chicago. So I think it's more important for Green Bay to take advantage of playing at home here.
Yeah, plus, it's not a good matchup for the Bears. The Bears need to run the football themselves, and the Packers are one of the better run defensive teams in the NFL. So now it's up to Caleb. Now this is when you need Caleb Williams to have a good game. He needs to come out there and throw the football. Because that's the one thing that I still don't know about the Bears, is that I'm still not convinced that Caleb Williams is going to be some sort of a difference maker at this position. He's done a fine job, but that's it. I can't go over that. He's definitely not a guy that when you match up against the Bears that you're afraid of. So, but you have to give him credit for making a few plays here and there when he's needed to during this stretch. So, but have you guys noticed anything on your end that leads you to believe that, he's made a big difference, Caleb Williams, from last year to this year?
Well, the team is stabilized. I mean, they come out, they run their scripted plays early that usually surpass what they're expected to do early in the game, and they don't turn the ball over. He doesn't turn the ball over, and he's playing in the system that Johnson likes. And as long as he does that, the marriage will continue.
Jim, good talking to you again, as usual.
Talk to you tomorrow.
We'll talk tomorrow.
Jim, you want to do the contest thing tomorrow also?
Yes, we'll do those tomorrow.
We missed last week? Yeah.
Yes. I'll be in touch.
Sounds good.
Everybody's disappeared. Where the hell is everybody?
I'm still here.
I'm seeing your hat.
I see no one.
Yeah.
I just figured I'd make Andy feel good.
Okay.
It makes me feel a little bit better. I'm still trying to figure this out because I'm not moving or anything, and I don't know if there's something with and the connection isn't it, because the connection is fine.
Yeah, it's got to be something with your connection, Andy, somewhere. I don't know what it is, but somebody probably should check it out.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jim.
I'll see you later, guys.
See you tomorrow.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Thanks, Jim.
All right, let's talk some college football, Andy. And the championship week starts tomorrow night. I noticed in 3 games that we got rematches.
I think 6 of the 9 games are rematches of this season.
Well, we'll keep this in mind regarding this, that in these 3 rematches, all 3 teams that lost the first game are a 2-point favorite in the championship game.
Yeah.
And I find that a little bit unusual. And
now you're just talking about the 4 Friday games. 3 of them are rematches.
Yeah. Well, you have Western Michigan, Miami.
Right.
And the interesting thing about that matchup is Miami was a 2-point favorite at home, beat Western Michigan.
Won by 3. Then they won
now
by 3.
they're a 2-point underdog.
Yeah.
Even after beating them. Then you've got Georgia and Alabama. And Georgia is the favorite again. I mean, how many times is Georgia going to continue to be the favorite against Alabama, and Alabama keeps beating them?
I'm not quite sure. Maybe it's the coaching edge.
I mean, look, but I'm just surprised that they keep favoring Georgia when Alabama just keeps beating them. This is like 3 straight outright upset wins. And they've now beaten them, I think, 5 straight, I think. and 8 out of 9. They beat them 8 out of 9 times against Georgia, winning 3 straight as a dog in 2023, 2024, and this year. And you know what? Georgia's the favorite again.
And I like Georgia in this game.
And do you think that that'll knock out Alabama?
It should. It should make a better case for Miami, who gets to rise up a little bit.
Yeah, I think that's Miami's shot right there. They need Alabama to lose.
Yeah, let me see what I had in this one here.
There are a lot of most of the people that I've been reading about this happen to believe that Alabama will be safe either way. I don't understand why they would believe that. Because I don't know, you're a 3-loss team. You lost to Florida State. That's a bad loss. And you're going to get a spot over, say, Miami, who has no bad losses. And they only have 2 losses.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Yeah, I cannot come up with a reason why Alabama would be in there. I mean, I can make an excuse for Texas or not being there with the 3 losses because one of them was at home loss to Florida. But I mean, was Miami's loss to Florida State, which looked like an impressive loss at the time, with Florida State, starting decently, turned out not to be as impressive a loss as or a win over Florida State that they had.
And then
that Miami had was still a good win over Florida State, but the loss that Alabama had to Florida State it looks even worse now.
And the other one is Kennesaw State at Jacksonville State. So they played already at Jacksonville State. Jacksonville State beats them. Matter of fact, they led that game 32-13 in the fourth quarter. And now Kennesaw State is back to being the favorite at Jacksonville State. And Jacksonville State is 13-3 against the spread as at home in the FBS. That's dating back to 2023. They are 4-0 straight up this year as a home dog, 5-0 straight up overall. And Kennesaw State, who's been on a nice roll, they've won 9 out of 10. Their only loss at Jacksonville State. But Kennesaw State's the favorite by 2.
Yeah, and Jacksonville State, a little bit more experienced as far as being at the FBS level. I think they came in about 3 or 4 years ago. Kennesaw, I think, came in last year. So I don't know how long it takes for the scholarship things to improve for Kennesaw now that they have I think about 20 more scholarships than they did when they were FCS. I've been on this Jacksonville State team a lot this year. When I take a look, if I can find it here, the common opponents that these teams had, Kennesaw was actually 4-0, and Jacksonville State 3-1. Kennesaw had a much better average margin, winning by 11.5 to just 2.5 in those games. The yardage numbers were better. The average yards per play, the differential favor, the numbers favor Kennesaw State, but I wonder how much that is offset by the fact that Jacksonville won the first matchup, and at the same time, the way they won that matchup says that maybe Kennesaw State was a better team in that game. But could not close it out. So maybe that gives Jacksonville State even a little bit more. You don't. It's a huge advantage to play these games at home because, number one, you don't get a lot of crowd support from the visiting team between these two. Jacksonville State, what's Alabama? Kennesaw State is Georgia. So I don't know what the distance is between the two campuses. But I've been on Jacksonville State, and you're going to give me points in a game, winner take all game. I'm almost always on the home underdog.
Virginia, now they were a 5-point road dog 3 weeks ago at Duke. They just throttled Duke. The score was actually a lot closer than the game. They outgained Duke by nearly 300 yards, and it was never in doubt. And so now the line is switched 8 points to Virginia now as the 3-point favorite in a neutral site game. And let's remember, Virginia has only lost 1 game since week 2, and that was the game that Chandler Morris got hurt when they had a 6-0 lead in the second quarter against Wake Forest. That's how hot Virginia is. Duke, meanwhile, this is all ACC's fault that Duke is in this situation and that Miami not make the tournament. Absolutely.
And Virginia also had that loss to North Carolina State, which does not count in the conference standings, which that's another situation that needs to be addressed.
Yeah, shame on the ACC for allowing this to happen, for allowing this type of scenario. When you have 17 teams in a conference, how could you not think ahead that something like this might happen?
Yeah.
You can't play everybody; it doesn't work. And Duke should not be here. Everybody knows it, but they are, and they've got talent on offense. They have no defense, which is really strange considering that's usually the way that they have played under Manny Diaz. But Mentz is a nice young quarterback. I have no problem going back to Virginia.
No, nor do I. Now, interestingly enough, and maybe part of this is that when you look at the numbers of common opponents, Duke is 4-0, Virginia 2-2. Virginia's outscored those. Duke's outscored them 15, an average of 15 points. Virginia's exactly even as far as scoring goes. And I think that does include the North Carolina State, even though it didn't carry. It doesn't count for the standings. It still counts as a common opponent. Everybody knew that. They should have known going into that game that it was not a conference game. So maybe Virginia was still, getting used to the new team that they had, and they just didn't match up as well they should have. I'm also on Virginia in this game. I think they proved that they are the better team. And Duke is a team that has 7-5, 5 losses.
Yes,
you shouldn't be playing for a conference championship under any circumstances.
And if they win, that opens the door for James Madison.
Yep.
So that is going to be what James Madison's going to do. They're playing Friday night. They got to take care of business with Troy. They do that. Then they sit back. They become big fans of Duke. And if Duke can win, you'll see James Madison in the tournament. So,
isn't that another conference? What's it, the Sun Belt, where they shouldn't it be Old Dominion playing against James Madison?
Correct. That is another. That's because they have divisions.
Right.
Yes. And if there were no divisions, we'd have Old Dominion against, which it should be. We'd have Old Dominion against James Madison. Troy's had a nice season, but they're not Old Dominion or James Madison. So unfortunate. In the Big Ten, everybody's going to be paying attention to this one. Battle of unbeatens, Ohio State and Indiana. The line has dropped down to about 4 now, right? And what really sticks out to me, Andy, more than anything with Ohio State this season has been how good they've been against the number. 9-1-1 ATS. And it's been a long time since Ohio State has had that good of a record against the spread.
When you're laying those big numbers like Ohio State is week in and week out, they should not be 9-1-1 against the spread.
No, that's why I really like Ohio State in this matchup. I just think they're the better team. I'm still a little bit concerned about how either of these teams will play on a week in, week out basis in the playoffs because they haven't against good teams because they haven't done that all season. Both teams have had relatively easier schedules than the SEC teams, but overall, what you see is a really good defensive team. You've got studs. We mentioned Tate. Of course, Smith could be the number 1 pick in the draft in 2027. So, and even Sayin, it might be Sayin and Smith 1 and 2 in the 2027 draft. That's how good those kids are. But Ohio State's been really good defensively this season.
The one concern that I have, I do like Indiana plus the points here. They've that win at Oregon was very impressive. That makes up for a lot. The problem is for Indiana, that win against Oregon was back, I think, September 27th, if I remember. That's the last time Indiana played a team that finished with a winning record. Ohio State wasn't much, but now they both played Penn State since then. Penn State was 6-6. But at least Ohio State played Michigan at the end, which was a 9-3 team as they finished. So I'm just concerned that Indiana has not really been tested against, Ohio State hasn't faced a team as good as Ohio State. I mean, they at least passed a challenge back at the beginning of the year when they beat Texas at home, even though Texas dominated the stats. That was still the best opponent, so maybe you could take a look at, Ohio, and again, it was September, but keep in mind, Ohio State struggled to beat a team at home. Oregon won a little bit easier. Indiana won a little bit easier at Oregon, but that was just a few weeks after the Texas game against Ohio State. So I like Cignetti. I think they're going to come out and be aggressive. I think they're going to try and throw some punches figuratively at Ohio State, show some respect, but also show some confidence. And I think ultimately Ohio State comes back to win this game, but I think the points come into play. I think it's going to be decided by a field goal or less.
Yeah, it's the other thing. Ohio, and look, there's no doubt in my mind that Indiana needs this game more. Ohio State, we saw what happened last year when they lost to Michigan. They were able to come back, resilient, win a championship. Indiana, if they lose this game to Ohio State, then it comes back to, can you beat the big teams? And then expect to do it 3 weeks in a row.
They beat Oregon.
Yeah, I'm just saying, I mean, overall, that would be 1-3 and against big teams. And they haven't played many. And again, remember, we talked about this, I think, a couple of weeks ago. Indiana, their offseason schedule does not change until 2029. They're going to be playing a cupcake offseason schedule for the next 3 years.
Non-conference schedule.
Non-conference schedule. They did it the last 2 years. So it may come back to bite them at one point. But I think in general, it hurts them when you don't have a really good non-conference schedule, and then throw in the fact that your conference schedule is not as tough as it could be. That's a bad combination, and I think it'll eventually hurt them, which is why I really think they need this game. Ohio State has beaten all 12 of their opponents by 7 or more points, and their last 11 by 18 or more. Indiana, of course, had a 5-point win against Iowa, a 3-point win against Penn State. And like you said, at least they do have that big win on the road at Oregon.
Yeah, Indiana won 8 games by 24 points or more, defeated Old Dominion by 13, Oregon by 10, Iowa by 5, and Penn State by 3, but only the Old Dominion game was at home. So the wins against Oregon, Iowa, and Penn State were on the road, and they were still wins, but those were really the biggest challenges that they faced. But again, none of those teams was above 500 at the end of the season other than Old Dominion, who they played in week 1. Oregon obviously was, but the 3 that they beat on the road did not have great seasons this year.
Another conference that needs another shame on you, and that's the Mountain West. Shame on the Mountain West for somehow spitting out with their computers UNLV and Boise State again. I think it's an embarrassment. I don't think there has been a moment all season that either UNLV or Boise State would have been considered front runners for the championship game until the computer spit them out.
Well, didn't UNLV start like 5-0?
Yeah, but that wasn't
6-0, including a few conference games.
Yeah, they didn't play any tough non-conference games.
And they struggled in a couple of the ones they did, like that game against Miami, the game against Sam Houston.
Yes, and then they lost the game to what was it? New Mexico at home. I believe
at home.
It was. Yep. Yeah. Matter of fact, that's the other thing too, is you noticed like UNLV. I think if you match them up against the other teams that were in the their tiebreaker, I think they were 0-2 in those games. But
they lost to Boise State and New Mexico.
Yes. Okay.
I thought the best team overall in the conference throughout the body of work, including non-conference games, was San Diego State.
Yeah, San Diego State. Matter of fact, I would have much preferred to see a rematch of San Diego State and New Mexico in the championship game. I think that was deserving. I do like Boise in this one, though. They get their quarterback returning. That's huge. And they just own UNLV. They've beaten them in back-to-back championship games by 38 points. They beat them by 25 points earlier this year.
And they beat them in the regular season when they played last year. They didn't play 2 years ago in the regular season, but last year, I believe. Or maybe it was the other way around, but I think they played twice last year and once the year before, which was the championship game. So this is their 4th meeting. This will be their 5th meeting in the last 3 seasons. And Boise's won all 4.
And then you have Tulane and North Texas in the American. The winner will be in the postseason playoffs. And strange, this is the new times that both of these head coaches are already leaving, but they'll be coaching their programs. So Morris off to Oklahoma State, Summerall off to Florida.
Take that, Lane Kiffin.
Yeah. And North Texas, though, is the 2-point road favorite against Tulane. And I think that has a lot to do with how they just kick everybody's asses. They've had a very simple schedule for the most part, though, but they've been just killing everybody by a 50-21 margin on this 6-game winning streak. Tulane, meanwhile, if you look at them, they since the turnaround with Willie Fritz in 2022, this is only the second time Tulane is a dog in a conference game. They were a dog once this year at Memphis, and they won. So this is only the second time since 2022 when they had the turnaround that they've been a dog, and they're a home dog in the championship game.
Yeah, and when I take a look at the non-conference schedule for North Texas, they beat Lamar 51-0. They beat Western Michigan by 3 on the road. They, I think it looks like they hosted Washington State, and they blew out Washington State. So that's an impressive one, 59-10. And then they started conference play. I'm trying to see what Tulane's best non-conference game was. And as I go back,
Northwestern and Duke.
Northwestern, which isn't all that great. Duke, which isn't all that great. When they did step up in class, and they probably have the best opponent of anyone here, Ole Miss. They were at Ole Miss. They lost 45-10, so that was not even competitive. So, the advantage that Tulane has is playing at home. But this North Texas State or North Texas, I guess now, has been extremely powerful. Number one in the nation in total offense, 514 yards per game. Tulane is number 32, which isn't bad, but it's 100 yards less per game than North Texas. And defensively, they're both about middle of the pack. Tulane slightly better numbers, but not a big difference. Scoring-wise, obviously North Texas has a huge advantage on offense, but defensively they're only separated by 4 points, and that favors Tulane with a slightly better defense. So normally I like to take a look at the home underdogs with Tulane, but I've not been, my concern about Tulane is that I just haven't been all that impressed with them this year as I have been the last couple of years. And North Texas, I don't know what to expect. I mean, if they're able to, this might be a game where you can make a play in the middle of the first quarter if you find that Tulane is able to defend North Texas and contain them a little bit, because if this turns into be a shootout, Tulane can't keep pace.
Yeah, I agree. It's like I want to take Tulane because of being very rare to be in this situation, home dog, and all that, the experience that they've had the last 3 or 4 years of being in this spot. North Texas, this is new to them and all that. But North Texas is just playing so well right now. Tulane does not have the offensive firepower that North Texas has.
Well, the matchup here from the numbers, maybe in the running game, where North Texas averages 5.3, and reverse those numbers, Tulane allows 3.5. So if Tulane can stop the North Texas running game, they might have some success. Tulane actually puts up some pretty decent numbers in the offensive passing game, only 1 yard per completion below that of North Texas, both of which are above average. And defensively, they're basically identical. Net turnovers, North Texas plus 12, Tulane plus 5. Again, I throw out those FCS games because those are usually over matches. I said North Texas won by 51-0 against Lamar. I forget who Tulane beat pretty handily. So this is probably, of the 9 championship conference games, the one that I have the least confidence in as far as making a selection. I did go with Tulane playing at home, but that was a recommendation. That was a lean when I put it out there. It's probably not a game I'm going to play, but if I did, I would play Tulane, but I would also play them on the money line rather than just take the 2.5 points.
And before we wrap this up, the last game we haven't talked about, BYU, Texas Tech, and the Big 12 championship game rematch. And unfortunately, this is the worst possible matchup for Brigham Young. We saw that in the first matchup. They need to run the football, and they just happen to be going up against the top rushing defense in all of college football. It's just a terrible matchup.
2.4 yards per rush against FBS opponents.
And that's exactly
those are Alabama and Ohio State numbers.
And that's exactly what they held BYU to, basically 2.5 in the game. Yeah. So I don't see how they're going to need turnovers, special teams, all sorts of stuff. It's just too much to ask. And Texas Tech, even though they did lose, all 11 of their wins have been by 22 or more points. And even though
they should enjoy a home crowd advantage playing in
the
Dallas area.
Yep. And even though it's a lot of points, I still have to take Texas Tech.
Yeah, so do I.
All right.
Without reservation in this one either.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Plus, I think their team speed is better than BYU. BYU is physical. That might be the one advantage that they have, but I don't know if that can close the gap significantly enough to have it under 2 touchdowns.
Okay, so that is going to wrap it up. We will be back again as usual next week. Hopefully, Mark will join us next week. I know, of course, if you want to find out what's going on with Mark, we'll be talking with Mark tomorrow on our Friday show with Jim Feist. Should be about 3 o'clock Eastern time. Andy, good talking to you again as usual. And this is going to be a big week, especially in college football. So it should be a lot of fun.
And I've got a full week to figure out what's going on with my camera because it's connected, but it's not flipping on when I go off and on there. So maybe there's a loose connection in the back of the camera. Microphone seems to be working fine, and the headphones because I'm hearing
that's the most important part.
It's all part of the same. Yeah.
Yes,
that's
as
true.
long as I can hear you. So
yeah, it's tough holding up signs, and I don't know sign language, so definitely audio helps. Yeah, I want to thank everybody for the great comments that they've had really throughout the year, and especially as we start getting to the better games, a lot of thought-provoking and interesting ones that are worth contemplating because we have some really smart viewers and listeners out there, Greg.
Absolutely, and keep them coming because we're just heading into the real fun part with championship week in college football and another month before the NFL playoffs begin. So that'll wrap it up here on the Playbook.
By the way, one question, Greg. I have not taken a look at the schedule, but I remember last year there was a 3-week hiatus, or maybe a 2-week hiatus after conference championship games, and the college football playoff got underway. As I seem to recall, I wonder if that's I don't have it in front of me. If that's the same schedule this year, where there are like at least 2 weeks between the start of the playoff and the end of the conference championships.
Let's see. The college football playoffs are going to begin on the 19th and 20th.
Okay, so 2 weeks is like last year. Yeah.
Yeah. So we get 1 week,
which again could eliminate what might normally be considered letdown situations or overconfidence situations with that extra week in between.
Yeah, and then some teams are going to get a couple of weeks off with the buys. Yeah.
All right. And then even with the bowl season, teams will have about a month off in some of the later played bowl games.
Bowl season. I don't even get me started. I haven't been infatuated with the bowl season in years.
Not with all the players sitting out. You're basically looking at different teams, and a lot of coaches are saying, "Let's plan for next year. We'll play all these guys who are sophomores this year."
Yep, it's terrible. Last year was the worst ever, and I don't think it's going to change. So
no, I can't see it getting any better.
Yeah, because the portal opens up again on the 2nd of January. So
which is a bit of a mistake, but it only affects 2 teams, I guess, who are still playing for the playoffs.
It might be. I think we're further along than that now with the playoffs.
Okay, so it might be 4 teams. Go deeper into January.
Yeah, the whole schedule is screwed up. We saw it with the whole Kiffin situation. They don't know.
But it's been better than it was. We finally have a multiple team playoff. And
I like that.
We go to 16.
I like that absolutely. And there's been a lot of good in the portal as well. So we have to take the good with the bad.
And by the way, I like the fact that they emulated what they do in FCS, where it's a 24-team field. And the first 16 play the first week to eliminate the field to 16. 8 teams get eliminated.
Yeah, I don't know if they need 24, but anything more than 12 will be helpful, especially this year. It's unfortunate that Texas, Vanderbilt, and maybe Miami and Utah are not going to be in the playoffs when they're more than capable of winning multiple playoff games. So
certainly more than Duke or Virginia.
Yeah, definitely. I don't know. Well, Duke, Virginia, they better win a game, but Duke for sure. Okay, so we'll see you next week again, Andy. Appreciate it.
Okay, and to all our listeners and viewers, have a great weekend. Take care.